Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mary Ann Ramish, and if you're new, I am a freelancer in Los Angeles, California. It has been insanely hot in LA for the past couple days, so no coffee today, just water. Today's video is not going to be taking place in this closet as per usual. I'm going to take it out into my kitchen and show you guys how to organize a kitchen pantry that is deep storage. It can be so hard to fit everything in an organized way when instead of having a lot of display area, it's deep storage. I'm going to show you guys how I've made it work for me. I hope you enjoy.
So the first thing I do is take everything out of the cupboard. To start with a blank slate, I have so much stuff in there. I include some pots and pans because they don't fit in the other cupboards. And then I have my food dry storage items. And then there's a shelf for Lex because I guess he needs space too. After I finish emptying out the cupboard, I go ahead and wipe things down. It's a pretty dingy old cupboard, so it doesn't look great, but I made it look as good as I could. Then I went ahead and put in the skeleton of the cupboard. I put in these different shelves with the steps for cans and then for creating levels. I got most of these either from a family that was getting rid of them or from TJ Maxx. Weirdly, I didn't know they sold household stuff, but I guess they do. Not all locations, but I found one that did, and I needed some storage stuff, so it was perfect. So the bottom shelf is super easy. I put in my one big pan and my food processor and a cast iron pan that I have as well. And I start by just doing the stuff that goes in deeper. Later, stuff will get filled out in front of these items. The second shelf, I put my rolling pin and some baking pans. And then my crock pot. The third shelf is where things start to get a little more complicated because I've got so much stuff to store. I got all of these jars at the 99-cent store. Some of them may have been $2 or $3, but still pretty affordable compared to other storage containers that you can buy online. And I just marked off what they were with an erasable marker. And I put the things that I use less frequently in the back. So there's going to be more stuff in front of that later. But for now, I think that that's a good setup because I rarely need those things. The ones that I need most often were on the top shelf so that I could reach over the other items and grab it. This shelf is more straightforward because this is the one designated for my boyfriend. And some things that are in there, like the rolled oats and stuff, go towards his morning pumpkin balls. So he lets me keep some of that storage on there, the peanut butter and the old-fashioned oats. And then we also keep some of our medications on that shelf because we keep losing them if we don't have that designated spot. Next, I start to organize my dried beans. I have a couple containers that I also got from the 99-cent store in order to organize all of these items by type. And I go ahead and consolidate because some of the jars aren't super full and probably aren't going to get refilled. So I consolidate as much as possible. I have done this deep storage organization in the past, but it's been about 6 months, so things start to pile up and get disorganized again. So as much as I would love this to be a one and done thing, it is something you're going to have to revisit occasionally to finish cleaning up. With the beans and everything, I do like the jars, but I know that with at least the nuts and seeds that I have, I'm going to start transitioning back to just using the bags because most of them have Ziplocs and take up less space in this kind of a bucket in the cupboard. I got the card that I use as the label from Michael's in a different decorative card set, but you could just use an index card and use some markers and make it look nice. Now this container goes on the top shelf on the top of that little shelf, and the item that didn't fit just went underneath it. Next, I pull all of my beans into the center and start to split them into types. So I have my canned beans, my canned tomatoes, and then the miscellaneous items in between. I really like the step system that I have where you can see different levels. This does work really well in shorter storage because you can just have them facing out and it'll just be layers of the shelf, and it works a little more functionally than it does here, but it still works here. I decided to try to organize it by putting like white beans in the middle, black beans on the bottom, other types on top, but of course you never can really perfectly organize everything if you're eating a varied diet. So I put the beans in the back, tomatoes in the front, and then filled in with the other items. I put some veggie stock under the shelf with the beans, and then I put a bunch of different applesauce containers underneath the steps, which is some extra storage space, which was nice. I only really use the applesauce for recipes, not for snacking, so they stay in the cupboard. Next up, I do the nuts and seeds. Like I said, I'm going to start using the bags because you see how nicely they all just fit in there, and there's so many different varieties that I can't know for sure how many containers I'll need from moment to moment, and it's easier to just have different bags that I can throw in there. After that, it is the grains. I have quinoa, different types of pasta, different rice, all sorts of stuff. I start off by filling up the rest of this brown rice flour. I hadn't been able to fit all of it in before, and you can see it's super piled up top, but I finally was able to consolidate that and throw out the extra bag. And I start by putting in the different grains, bulgur wheat, millet, all of that sort of stuff. At a certain point when organizing, I realized that I need one extra category, which is for different types of pasta. So instead of including the pasta in this container, which would not have fit anyway, I create a pasta section as well, which I think turned out really great. So we have different types of noodles, couscous, and pasta going into this little sliding container. I believe this belonged in a fridge, but I ended up using it in my cupboard. And you can see it slides right in the middle there. Now, to get to the items in the back, I usually batch cook once a week, and so I just pull out the ones in front, set them up around the kitchen, and then I have access to everything on the day that I need it. And I very, very, very rarely need it throughout the week, so it's fine that it's a little deeper in the cupboard. Next, I add one more category. I actually stole this container from my bathroom. It was also from the 99-cent store. I realized that I wanted a dried foods container for dried tomatoes, dried peppers, dried fruit, all of that I could put in there. On the top upper shelf, I put all the miscellaneous items. There's some items that I've gotten for free because of different promotions that I don't eat very much but like to have on hand, some different snack items, and some instant rice packets. I don't really include those in the grains category because those are for more when I'm cooking specifically, and this top shelf is when I want to grab and have something instantly. I put any extra containers with different types of flour, for example, brown rice flour, oatmeal flour, I don't know what types of flour I have, almond meal, stuff like that, and put them underneath the beans. And I pour in everything else that I have, some cereal, stuff like that. And if you are wondering where I keep my bottled items, I actually keep them in the drawer so that I can see them all at once and just take one out, put it back in.
That is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe, and let me know if you have any suggestions or tips for other people who have deep storage troubles.